Hey y'all, welcome back to Reddit to Wire. Well, Oaklawn has the Rebel Stakes this weekend, and in conjunction with it, they've got an all-stakes pick four I think we ought to take a look at. So let's get into it. So the Rebel Stakes pick four comprises races 8 through 11 on Saturday's card at Oaklawn. And um, just for ratification, give you a heads up. You guys know I normally do pick fives, but state bred maidens are not that exciting to handicap at Oaklawn, or maidens for that matter, and they usually gum up the work. So let's try to have a little more fun, a little more stability with a pick four that is all stakes races. So that's the decision here. Leg one is the Carousel Stakes. It's ungraded for 150,000. It's the 8th race. It's run at 6 furlongs for 4-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And this one is pretty straightforward, I think. Just looking at some of the horses that I intend to use, these would all be, for the most part, thinking about using underneath in the exotics, because there is a pretty heavy favorite in Zeitlos that we'll get to. Adeline Julia is second off the layoff, and that's produced her best effort last year in an optional claimer, where she intended to pace a little more closely than in the American Beauty, where she pretty much ran the same race as Let's Be Clear, who's in here today. They both swung out 5 wide in the stretch with a mild rally, but this one's following the exact pattern of her best effort second off the layoff. So I think this one is poised to run a little closer to the pace and be more involved. And so at 10-1, I think this is a horse to certainly consider. Mucho Macho Girl, I have to be honest, I don't really understand the 8-5 price. I guess it's based on the speed figure, but the last 2 races where, she won drawing them off, but she didn't beat anything. Those were extremely soft fields. And the class test that she had at Keeneland following her maiden score was a disappointment. The tab does show that she's ready to run. There's no doubt about it. But running against the likes of Zeitlos is a big challenge. And I never like horses coming in who win easily, as easily as Mucho Macho Girl has in her last 2. She's not going to have it her own way in this race. And for that reason, you certainly have to use, but I'm kind of against it as a win candidate. I'm the Boss of Me couldn't handle Zeitlos in the last starter allowance, and kind of looks like Father Time's catching up with this one, but she always seems to run in the money, so I think you can certainly use her at the bottom of the exotics. Pillbox is another whose best effort came second off the layoff, where she drew off by 9 in a 40,000 optional claimer, 40,000 claimer rather. I think it's encouraging that she ran a solid race in the starter allowance off the bench. She certainly would need to pick it up speed-wise, but she offers good value at 20-1. And again, a horse I think is more likely to be used underneath, which leaves us with Zeitlos. She's got superior backclass to any in this field. She's run at higher levels than any of the others here, any of the contenders. And at 4, it's logical to expect a prime effort second off the layoff. In my opinion, class-wise, she towers over this field. And to me, it's her race to lose. So Zeitlos we like quite a bit in the carousel. Leg 2 is the Honeybee Stakes. And this is the female companion to the Rebel Stakes. It's an Oaks Prep. It's a grade 3 run. It's the 9th race on the card. And it's run at 1 1/16 for 3-year-old fillies. And this is a rather interesting race. You've got West Omaha here, who is a pretty big favorite, with Band of Gold second right behind her. But to me, and incidentally, we have a separate post for this race, so if you want more in-depth analysis, go there. But we'll just talk about the horses we're going to use. To me, the Alley's Beach is probably going to be on the lead, I would guess, all by herself. And I think that makes her kind of dangerous in this race. The weather's supposed to be good at Oaklawn, so I think if she can return back to her form at 2 years old, where she did hold her own pretty well against the better fillies at 2 years old. Then I think that she may have a little bit of a class edge here. I think it's logical to expect some growth and progression. Tom Amoss should have her ready to run off the bench. So Alley's Beach, I think, is one that could get on the front end and might be hard to run down if she builds up a head of steam. Neon Beach is a little green in the stretch in the Martha Washington, but this one got a career high, and she did improve her class level while the race level stayed the same, and that's always a good thing. That kind of means that she's running against herself as opposed to others. So I think this is a horse on the improve. It's progressing well, should take another jump, third off the layoff. So don't know that she's got the top end to win this, but I think is one that you certainly have to use. West Omaha won like a good horse against a so-so field in the Silver Bullet Day, but she didn't improve her class level from the race prior, from the Untappable to this one, and that represents maybe a plateau is setting in. She has not faced the greatest of competition. And that's really my knock on West Omaha being such a short price here. Certainly a win candidate, certainly capable, but I don't think it's a lock cinch. And I think we have to try to find some value, perhaps. When you consider Perfect Shot came back a tiring third in the Rachel Alexandra, who finished second to West Omaha, then there's a little bit of hair on her. And she's going to have to prove it to me. Got to use her, no doubt about it. But I don't think she's a single in this spot for the reasons stated. Band of Gold, I have to wonder if it was the mud that elevated Band of Gold, given the disappointing effort in the Untappable, and which might not be a great race given the performance of Alpine Princess and the Rachel Alexandra. This race is bereft of speed. And I think the Alley's Beach is going to have it all her own way on the front end. And in that regard, I think this race shape doesn't really set up terribly well for Band of Gold. And I think 2-1 is entirely too short on this horse. And I really don't like her at all. But it's one to consider underneath for the exotics being a late runner. But I don't think she's a viable win candidate here. Midshipman's Dance, to me, is a very interesting horse. 2 turns, this will be her first effort around 2 turns. Being by Midshipman, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I mean, he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in a mile and a 16th, so I think she can probably handle it. Her first two races, she's shown improvement in each, and in the Mockingbird, she was closer to the pace, and her fractions were improving, and that's a horse that's progressing. And I think, again, stretching out, I don't think she's going to be a problem. And she's one of few in here who has a defined upside, where she has a pattern of improvement. And I think that's very important in this race. And at 12-1, you're getting outstanding value. So to me, West Omaha, Alley's Beach, and Midshipman's Dance are the top 3 contenders for this race. And now we look at the Razorback Handicap. That's leg 3. It's a grade 3 in the 10th race, running a mile and a 16th for 4-year-olds and up. And this is a fantastic betting race. I mean, it's just a really well-balanced field. There's a whole lot of different ways to go, and it's hard to throw out a lot of these horses. So I think the defining characteristic of this race has to be value. You've got to find it. There's a lot of horses in here who don't close the deal. They just don't win. And Speed Bias is one who leads the class. Even in his best efforts, he finds a way to give it up. He always fires. He always runs a race, but he never seems to have enough in the tank late to get the job done. So he's a use for sure, but I don't think you can bet him with both hands to win whatsoever. Magic Tap is kind of the same thing. He's certainly going to be in the mix, but he's a little hard to trust on the top end. His lone stakes effort in the Pennsylvania Derby was kind of uninspiring, but he does have a right to improve his second start at 4 years old, but he would need his best effort to date, and really the desire to win is something that, again, pervasive through a lot of these in this race, and I kind of question it with him to win this race, so a little tentative to use him. We look at Seize the Night.
He had a game effort in the 5th season, closing against a speed-favoring track in the slop, and short stretch at Oaklawn, it's hard to win that from behind. I follows a near career high speed figure in the tinsel, so he's in good form, and this being the second in the form cycle, I think he's liable to run another good race. I just don't know if he's quite good enough to get the job done on top, but I think he's a horse you probably want to use for sure. 8 Life Grand. Outside of Iowa, the results have been kind of disappointing, though. He did win the Lake Ochita here last year. The race level, the last 3 have been good as well as his class level, so perhaps this is a horse who's finally realizing his potential. He's been running at better class races than a lot of these. The race ratings are much higher, so he's had some salty company, and while I don't think he's a lock cinch, and I think the 7-2 morning line favorite price sort of demonstrates that, I think he is a good fit here. And if he runs his race, we'll have every chance to win it. 8 Life Grand, I think it's more a question of class than it is anything else. But to me, he fits pretty well in here. Midnight Rising is another one that I think is very interesting, especially at 30-1. He debuted at 4 with a career high speed figure, Brisnet, in a decent allowance field. And that's always a good sign when they debut with a career high. There is bounce potential, of course. I'm not going to deny that, but I think it's a great sign to start his campaign that he came off what was a really solid effort, looked very professional, and with another move forward, he fits in the mix very well here. And at 30-1, you're getting outstanding value. Notary, to me, is the horse you got to think about on top. I think he's my pick to win this. You're getting 10-1. Hopefully, you can get some value commensurate with that. But having seen what Money Supply did last week at the fairgrounds, I think you have to pay particular attention to this horse because the last 2 races, Notary he ran against Money Supply and finished second, and then the one following, he came back with a really solid, decisive win. So I think this one is in very good form. He drew off in his last after attending a fairly slow pace, but he's ultra consistent. He seems to fire every time, and more important than anything else, he knows how to win. And that, to me, is the separating characteristic. Much like a couple weeks ago, we were high on Tumba Rumba for the same reason. He was in a race with a lot of horses who don't know how to win, but he did. And he came out and he won the race a little unexpectedly. So it's kind of the same angle I'm playing here. I really like Notary in this spot. Escapologist comes out of the last 2 races as Notary, so I think we have to include him. But the thing with Escapologist is he kind of leaves himself a little too much to do late. And that's really the only knock I have on him. So to me, he's more of an underplay than he is on top. But in sum, I think you have to spread in this race. But I really like Notary as the prime win candidate. So now we come to the last leg, the one we're all looking forward to watching, and that's the Rebel Stakes. It's a grade 2. It's a Derby prep. It's the 11th race on the card, running a mile and 16th for 3-year-olds. And again, we have a separate posting for individual analysis on each of these horses, but for our purposes here, we're just going to talk about the ones I think we have to use for sequence purposes. First and foremost, Northern Flame. This is a horse who is on the come. His race pattern suggests that a move forward is likely here. The only question I might have is if it does rain, I don't know if I'd be using him. He doesn't appear to me like he likes to slop too much. And he got a pretty bad effort in the street sense in the mud. So to me, that's something to consider. In the British Futurity, however, he kept on well. Well, he's no match for Locked or the Wine Steward. But he did come back and wire the field his last race. And I think that more suggests his quality as a horse as opposed to a need for the lead. You know, when you got a horse who's just superior talent, put him on the lead, get him out of trouble, and just walk away. And that's exactly what he did. I think I think this horse is progressing nicely. He's shown some good back class, and provided Timberlake doesn't fire coming off the bench, I think Northern Flame is a horse you certainly have to use. Of course, Timberlake is one that is a 6-5 favorite here from uh, rightfully so. I mean, after his 2-year-old campaign, a win in the Champagne Stakes, you do have to wonder though. His first effort around 2 turns in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile got a little hot, and while he finished fourth, it wasn't necessarily a really good fourth, and maybe we could have expected a little better. This horse can get a little keen. He's been training lights out, and that's kind of, that to me, that's mixed signals. It certainly means he's going to be in shape. Being trained by Brad Cox, I have no doubt this horse will be rock fit to run in this race. But uh, when a horse is a little keen, can get a little keen, that may get him into trouble here because he might be a little too eager to fire, not having had a race since November. He's the horse to beat. There's no doubt about it. And if he runs his race, he's going to win here. But we do have some slight reservations about him. And maybe there's some ways to we can think about beating him, perhaps on multiple tickets. I'll leave that up to you. For me, I'm probably going to single Timberlake because I think he just does tower over the field. But as a couple of alternatives, Next Level has had kind of a checkered career so far. He flamed out in the Gun Runner trying to get on the front end, but last time they took him back, and he had tons of run left in his last race. He swung out 5 wide, and he had a sustained drive, and I thought he was the best horse that day. Woodcourt won that race, but he had the rail, really didn't have much trouble. Next Level, to me, showed quite a bit of improvement. He does have the back class to show that he has some speed, and he has some talent. So you got a horse now with an improved running style who is ready to take a move forward at 30-1. That's outstanding value. And if you're looking for a long shot alternative, I think Next Level just might be the one to fit the bill. Laganos is kind of interesting. He was outclassed in the Smarty Jones, but this one has responded well to layoffs. And he had a best effort third and an optional claimer in November, his first time around 2 turns. Coming off a layoff. So I have a sneaky suspicion that this one will run a good race at 20-1. You're getting some nice value. Underneath is more likely. I don't consider Laganos to be a win candidate here, but I think is one that you want to think about in your mix. Just Steel is doing everything a Derby horse is supposed to do. He's learning how to run. He's been getting more comfortable rating, managing his speed. And I think but for the freakish effort of Mystic Dan in the Southwest Stakes, he would have won easily. He was well ahead of the field, and he had a tough trip from the outside. He lost all kinds of ground, and he still managed what I consider to be a very good second. The problem is he's probably going to finish second again here. He is a horse who's improving. We do have to wonder if he wants much more past 1.125 miles. But I like this horse a lot. And it's always more fun when the coach has a horse on the Derby trail. So Just Steel, to me, probably more likely for underneath. But you never know. If Timberlake doesn't fire, Just Steel offers a very good alternative. So that's those are the 4 races. Let's take a look at our ticket. In leg 1, we're going to single Zeitlos. To me, I can't see where she can get beat. She's got superior back class and numbers. And to me, while a Mucho Macho Girl is a similarly short price favorite, I think Zeitlos is the superior horse. And I can't see going any other way, to be honest. And then singling in the first leg and the last leg with Timberlake gives us options to spread. And I think, particularly in the Razorback, you absolutely have to. In leg 2, race 9, the Honeybee, we're going to use 1, 6, and 10. I do not think it is a lock cinch that West Omaha is going to win that race. And I think Alley's Beach and the 10 horse are the ones that offer not only value, but the best alternatives. And I think it's conceivable you could see an upset in that one. And then in race 3, the leg 3, the Razorback, again, super value, super betting race. We love Notary at 11 as our prime win candidate, but I think you've got to buttress that because there's a lot of ways to go in that race, and it's pretty well balanced. And it's really going to be who gets the trip, I think. So we're going to use 4, 6, 11, and 12. Escapologist mainly because Notary, they ran in the same race as Notary. We just, if we're going to use Notary, we have to use Escapologist, but I'm not quite as confident with him getting on top. You want to throw him out, I can understand it. And then finally, in the Rebel Stakes, we're going to single Timberlake. This looks to be, well, because particularly with Zeitlos in the first leg, he's going to come up short. And if Timberlake comes up short as well, in price-wise, then you got a pretty chalky ticket. So let's keep it small. On a dollar base, it's a $12 ticket. And I think that those middle legs, if we can get one of those value horses home with the small size of a ticket, we get a nice ROI, and that's what we want all along.
So that's the Rebel Stakes pick 4, and I think there's those middle legs in particular. I'm really excited about the Razorback. I think that's going to be an awful fun race, tons of value to be had, and we got to get Notary home in that one. I think there's a really nice payday in some of those exotic bets as well as the sequence. So I hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy, of course, and I wish you the best of luck as always. And if you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And thanks to all of you who've recently come on board. Really do appreciate the support. I love the way this community continues to grow, and we'll certainly continue our postings throughout the thoroughbred season, and particularly the Derby Trail. Got a big weekend next week, so be on the lookout for content there, and we'll be reviewing and replaying the Rebel Stakes, certainly, and we'll have an updated top 10. We may go to a top 25 for the Derby, so those will all be awesome content for you guys that'll be coming up in the very near future, so stay tuned for that. That's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.